Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Early Morning Horror. I'm your 3 a.m. host, and I hope that you're all having a wonderful morning so far. Today, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Instead of doing a horror movie review like I intended, which I was going to review Bring Her Back, uh, instead, we're going to be reading a couple Reddit stories. This one off of r/TrueScaryStories. But tomorrow I fully plan on recording my episode on Bring Her Back. I just did not have a chance to rewatch the movie yesterday, simply because it was Easter and I also fell asleep trying to put my son to bed. So yeah. But this is our first story. I hope that you all have your coffee or your tea or caffeinated drink and elixir. r/TrueScaryStories. Exploring an abandoned hospital at 3 a.m. We regret it. It's currently 3:09 a.m. as we are recording, so that's another reason why I picked it. I never planned to go there that night. It just so happened me and my friend had been talking about abandoned places for weeks. There was this old hospital outside town that had been shut down for years. People said strange things happened there, but we never really believed it. Around 2:30 in the morning, we decided to go. The drive felt longer than usual. The roads were empty and everything felt strangely quiet. When we finally reached the hospital, it looked worse than I expected. The building was huge, dark, and broken, with shattered windows and walls covered in stains. We parked a little far and walked the rest of the way. The main entrance was locked, but we found a broken side door and stepped inside. The moment we entered, the air felt heavy, and it is hard to explain, but it did not feel like an empty place. We turned on our flashlights and started walking. The floor was covered in dust and debris. Old hospital beds were left in the hallways, some doors were half open, others completely broken. It felt like the place had been abandoned in a hurry. At first, everything was quiet, too quiet. We kept moving deeper into the building, trying to act normal, but both of us felt uneasy. I could tell my friend was nervous by the way he kept looking behind us. Then we heard it, a sound from upstairs. Slow footsteps. We both stopped and listened. It happened again. At that moment, we both knew we were not alone. We should have left, but we did not. Instead, we went upstairs. The stairs creaked loudly with every step. When we reached the second floor, the air felt colder. The hallway stretched out in front of us, long and dark. That is when my friend suddenly grabbed my arm and pointed ahead. I saw it too. A figure was standing at the end of the hallway. It was not clear, just a shape, but it was human-like, completely still, like it was watching us. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. Then my flashlight flickered and the figure was gone. We both panicked and started backing away. That is when we heard something behind us. Footsteps again, but this time closer, much closer. We turned around, but there was nothing there. Then one of the doors slowly moved. Not fully, just enough to notice. That was it. We ran. We ran back toward the stairs without looking back. The sound of footsteps followed us. Faster now. Felt like something was right behind us. We nearly fell trying to get down when we reached the ground floor. We did not stop. We ran straight out of the building. Once outside, we finally stopped near the car, both of us breathing hard. For a moment, everything was silent again. Then my friend slowly looked up at the hospital and froze. I followed his gaze. There was someone standing at the window on the second floor, watching us. We got into the car and drove away without saying a word. Neither of us spoke the entire way back. Even after we got home, we avoided talking about it. The next day, I checked the video on my phone. Most of it was dark and shaky, but there was one moment on the second floor where the camera pointed down the hallway. The figure was there, but that was not the worst part. As we turned to run in the video, the figure did not stay at the end of the hallway. It moved, fast, straight toward us. The video cut off right after that. We never went back and we never will. uh, I think there's only been like a couple comments, and nobody believes that it's real because the guy did not post his video. So I'm going to say that I probably wouldn't have been there. One, I do like the idea of urban exploration. I love it. Seeing abandoned places is very cool. I wouldn't do it at 3 a.m. in the morning at a hospital because that is just way too dark of a time. And if it's in a remote location like that, that's as dangerous as it can get. Uh, I would also not be there unarmed or without people knowing that I'm there because, yeah, like people are gonna know that I'm gonna be there, or I'm gonna have more than just one friend with me. Of course, I don't know how old this dude is. I don't know where this dude lives, so can't really say anything. And I would also have multiple flashlights because anything can happen. Okay, let's read this one from a few days ago. Exploring an old factory that shut down years ago, I saw something move. I had heard about that factory for years but never really paid attention to it. It sat on the edge of town, far enough that people didn't pass by it unless they had a reason to. It had shut down a long time ago after some kind of accident, but no one ever gave a clear answer about what actually happened there. Some people said it was financial problems, others said workers got hurt. Either way, the place had been left to rot. One evening, I decided to go there. I told myself it was just curiosity. I had explored abandoned places before, so I did not expect anything unusual. I went alone, which in hindsight was probably my first mistake. I can agree that is your first mistake. By the time I reached the factory, the sun had almost set. The building looked massive, much bigger than it seemed from the road. The walls were stained dark from years of weather, and most of the windows were broken. Parts of the roof looked like they were about to collapse. The gate at the front was locked, but the fence on the side had a large opening, like someone had forced their way in. That should have been a warning. As soon as I stepped inside the fence, everything felt off. The air was still heavier somehow. There was a faint metallic smell mixed with something damp, like rust and old water. Even the sounds from outside seemed to disappear. It was like stepping into a different place entirely. I turned on my flashlight and entered through a wide loading area. The floor was covered in dust and scattered debris. Old crates were stacked against the walls, some broken open. There were large not mechanics, machines everywhere, most of them silent and covered in dirt, but a few looked oddly untouched. I started walking deeper inside, trying to stay calm. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have. Every small sound felt amplified. I kept telling myself it was normal, just an empty building, nothing more. After a few minutes, I noticed something strange. There were marks on the floor that did not match the rest of the dust. They looked like something had been dragged recently. The lines were not old, they were too clear. I crouched down to get a better look, and this is when I heard the first sound, a faint metallic noise. It was soft, almost like something lightly tapping against metal somewhere far inside the factory. I froze and listened carefully. For a moment it stopped. Then it came again, this time slightly louder. It did not sound random, it sounded like movement. I stood there for a while trying to convince myself it was just something falling or shifting. Old buildings make noises all the time. That is what I told myself. But deep down, I knew that was not it. I should have left right then. Instead, I followed the sound. The deeper I went, the darker it got. My flashlight only showed a small part of what was ahead, leaving the rest in complete darkness. The machines became larger and closer together, forming narrow paths between them. It felt like walking through a maze. The sound continued, slow and uneven. Sometimes it would stop completely and then start again from a different direction. It was as if whatever was making it was moving. That is when I started feeling it, that feeling of being watched. I stopped walking and turned around slowly. There was nothing there, just rows of machines and shadows stretching into the darkness. But the feeling did not go away. If anything, it got stronger. I kept moving faster. Now, I wanted to find the source of the sound and leave. That was the plan. Then I reached a large, open section in the center of the factory. The ceiling was higher there, and a few broken skylights let in faint light from outside. It was just enough to make out shapes without relying completely on my flashlight. That is when I saw it. Movement. At first, it was just a shift in the corner of my eye, something moving between two machines. I turned my head quickly, but there was nothing there. I stood still, holding my breath. Then it happened again. This time I saw it clearly. Something moved. Not fast, not sudden, just a slow movement, like something pulling back into the darkness. I raised my flashlight and pointed it in that direction. The beam shook slightly in my hand, but there was nothing there. No person, no animal, nothing I could explain. My heart started racing. I took a step back. Then I heard something behind me, a dragging sound, slow and uneven, like something being pulled across the floor. I turned around instantly and shined my light, but again, nothing. At that point, I knew I needed to leave. I started walking back the way I came, trying not to panic, but the sounds followed me. Every few seconds, I could hear movement from a different direction. It was not staying in one place, it was circling me. I kept walking faster. Then I made the mistake of stopping again. The moment I stopped, everything went silent, completely silent. For a few seconds, there was nothing. Then something moved right in front of me. Close. Too close. I did not see details, I did not see a face, but I saw something shift, like a shape that should not be there. That was enough. I ran. I did not think, I did not look, I just ran. The sounds behind me got louder, faster, like something was chasing me through the machines. I could hear metal hitting metal, something dragging, something moving quickly through the dark. I almost fell twice, but I kept going. Finally, I saw the opening in the fence. I ran straight through it and did not stop until I reached my car. I got inside, locked the doors, and sat there breathing heavily, trying to calm down. For a moment, everything was quiet again, normal. Then I looked up. The factory stood in front of me, dark and still, watching me. I drove away immediately. I told myself it was my imagination. That fear had gotten to me, that there was a logical explanation for everything I saw and heard. But the next day I checked the video on my phone. Most of it was useless, just darkness and the sound of my footsteps. Until the end, right before I started running, the camera had briefly turned behind me, and for a split second, something appeared in the frame. It was low to the ground, its shape was wrong, and it was moving toward me, fast. I stared at that frame for a long time before deleting the video. I have not gone back since, and I never will, because I know one thing now. That factory is not empty. If you survive this story, more horrors will wait on my profile. Share in the comments what you would do if this happened to you. Oh, and I think, let's see, it says there's one comment, but I'm not signed in, so I can't read it. Okay, that one, I think that one was fake. Simply because there is no video, and also it is, I don't know. If something like that truly did happen, I'd be posting it everywhere. Shoot, there'd be news outlets hearing me contact them because of the simple fact that I probably caught some demon on camera. And I'd also not be unarmed, like I said, because that is one of the dumb things you can do. Not simply because a gun would work on a ghost or anything, but you never know if you go to one of these places and there are some meth heads there and they just want to stab you and take your wallet. So, yeah, there's my sound reasoning of why you should never go urban exploration without a good weapon and backup and multiple backups. Okay, this next one. Never open the door for strangers. I was 25, living in the worst neighborhood of Denver. At the time, with my boyfriend, I had a big bay window that I got to safely watch the daily drama unfold from. I'm talking a murder across the street after 3 months there, a robbery gone wrong ending there. I watched the cop shoot him in the leg, and finally one day, a massive apartment fire starting across the street in the same building as the murder, so I call 911, and I go into the shared hallway while I'm talking. There were 6 units in the building with a key entry for the main doors. I don't know why I wondered, but I did. As I was in the hallway, I heard noise coming from the back door. I looked, saw, and through the small window, a man I didn't recognize trying violently to get in. He then sees me. He says, "There's a fire. You need to let me in." All my hairs went up. Why is he at the back door when the fire is out front? I pointed to my active phone call and said, "I'm on the phone with the police now," and did not open the door. He gave up right away. I told a few coworkers the next day and heard horror stories of people using emergencies like that to rob and kill others. What the actual fuck? One comment, I am very glad you didn't fall for his ruse. Yeah, no, that I think she did do everything right. She said she's on the phone with the police, and that dude was probably planning to rob the place and probably hurt people. So, yeah. Okay. Uh let's read this next one. It says, "The night I thought it was over." It's from 4 months ago. The night I thought it was over. I was about 5 or 6 years old. This was around 2018 or 2019. Wait, so this dude's only like mm, barely in his teens, if that. So yeah, like 14, I think. Am I doing math right? 8 years ago, 6, 14. Yeah, okay. My cousin, let's call him Maverick, and I were playing hide and seek in a brick field near where we lived. Huge stacks of bricks. Workers everywhere, dust in the air. I was the seeker. I counted, and Maverick ran off to hide. When I finished, I found him pretty quickly behind a brick wall. He said he was thirsty and told me to wait while he went to get water, so I waited. I didn't realize how much time had passed. Back then, I was a dumb, calm kid. Even when something felt wrong, I never took it seriously. After what was probably 2 hours, I got annoyed and decided to look for him myself. I asked the workers if they'd seen him. They all said no. Slowly, the place started emptying out. The sun was going down. One by one, the workers left. Suddenly, the brick field felt huge and quiet. Then I heard growling. At first, it was far away, like wolves, somewhere in the distance. Then it sounded closer. My stomach felt tight, but I still didn't cry or run. I just stood there, not fully understanding how bad the situation was. That's when two men showed up. They looked completely normal, calm, friendly. They said they'd help me get out. I don't even remember questioning them. I just trusted them. There was a bicycle nearby. I sat on the seat while they walked beside it, guiding me toward the exit. While moving, something made me look down. Their feet weren't touching the ground. No toes, no soles, just legs, floating slightly above the dirt. I panicked inside, but I forced myself to stay calm. I told myself I was just tired, that I hadn't had water, that my brain was making things up. Uh, Sorry. When we reached the exit, I saw my mom running toward me. She looked scared. She hugged me immediately and asked if I was okay, where I'd been, and who helped me come out. I turned around to show her the two men. They were gone. Just gone. Later, I found out Maverick had gone home and told everyone nothing. Instead of getting in trouble, he was praised and kissed by his grandmother. While no one really understood that I had been missing for hours, I still don't know what those two were. But I remember one thing clearly: they helped me leave, and their feet never touched the ground. Has 27 upvotes and 28 comments. Let's read a few of them. Uh, the one at the top, likely they were angels, has 4 upvotes. OP replied saying, "Yeah, I'm glad I was saved." The second one, "Sorry, but I'm absolutely crying with laughter at someone who can't be older than 12 and 13 saying, 'Back then I was a dumb calm kid.'" That is true. And he replied saying, "Yeah, like not dumb, but I was not clever enough to observe what was going on or something feels off. Also glad I made you laugh." Somebody said, "Fascinating, thanks for sharing. It definitely feels like you had some help that day. I don't know that I would have been brave enough to follow after I noticed that I was the only one with feet. Did you ever hear that growling again?" But yeah, no, that was a pretty happy story. Could have definitely went a whole lot worse. A worker trying to kidnap a kid, or uh I don't know what native animals, but the fact that he said he thinks it could have been a wolf means that wolves could be native there, and a 5-year-old kid would be prime rib for a wolf or a pack. Alright, I think that's going to be it for now. Just a few stories. If you guys enjoyed this, I may end up doing more. I will be 100% honest and admit that this podcast was originally going to be just Reddit stories, simply because that is something that I love to listen to. From Smosh Reads Reddit to Mark Narrations, he does a lot of Reddit stories, and also r slash. All 3 of those make up a daily trip in my life. So yeah, I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and thank you again for being here. Bye bye.